So Washington got some good news on the quarterback front recently. Michael Penix is returning for 2023. But then they got some less than optimal news yesterday as you think about the long term. And that's their only quarterback commit in the 2023 cycle, four-star dual threat Lincoln Kienholz, has decommitted from Washington and he has flipped to Ohio State. And he's going to go play for the Buckeyes. Now, on the surface, if you're a Washington fan, you look at this and go, oh man, that's a bummer. Now what are we going to do at quarterback going forward? What's this and what's that? I'm not saying it's the greatest thing that could have happened, but I don't think it's the worst either. I think the worst news would have been Michael Penix announcing that he'd go to the NFL. Instead, he's coming back. So now you guarantee yourself, as you think about the long-term prospects, because that's what you're concerned about when you lose a guy like Kienholz, right? You're concerned about the long-term future of the quarterback position. In 2023, you now know for certain that you have a quarterback that can get you to a Pac-12 championship caliber level, maybe higher, if you play your cards right over the course of the season. And then once he's out of eligibility after next year, you have Sam Huard waiting in the wings. And yeah, you'd like to have another quarterback, but how did you get Michael Penix again? Oh yeah, the transfer portal. That's right. That's kind of a thing in college football, which I think we all understand pretty well. So when you're talking about these quarterback recruits, and I talk about recruiting plenty, I think it is very important, always has been, always will be. But I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the moment, but also to get caught up out of the moment. Because when you look at a prospect from the high school ranks like Sam Huard or Lincoln Kienholz, what do you hope he becomes one day? Well, you hope either of them can become a player like Michael Penix. That's what you're looking for. And I'll talk to our recruiting insider here at the network next week about whether or not that played into it. I think it's reasonable to assume, or at least consider the idea that Penix returning solidified that the starting job was not available barring an injury, which is never something you want to bank on if you want playing time. And that Kienholz probably said, I might have a better chance of playing over here at Ohio State because CJ Stroud is about to go to the NFL and their succession plan might not be as clear. But you were hoping, Washington fans, when this guy verbally committed to the Huskies, that he would become a player like Michael Penix, right? Starting all-conference caliber, putting his name in the Heisman discussion, leading the country in passing. That's what you wanted him to be. But don't get too caught up. This would be my advice. Don't get too caught up for any fan base, worrying about the future and ignoring what you have in the present. Because would you rather have kept Kienholz committed and lost Penix to the NFL and gone with either Kienholz as a true freshman or Huard as a third-year sophomore? Or would you rather have Penix back, know what he can give you, which is a chance to win a conference championship, still have Sam Huard waiting in the wings, and we'll see if he ends up remaining committed to Washington, because it's a long time to sit for a guy who is a 5-star, I think, top 20 recruit in the country. But in the glimpses that we've seen of him, he doesn't look like he's ready to be a starting quarterback yet. He might just need another year to develop. And he's got a great guy to be behind. Good leader, good quarterback, experienced player. You got a great offensive staff, another year in that system. It's disappointing on the one hand for Washington, but you have the guy right now who can get you to the level where you want to go. We saw that this year. He's the nation's leading passer. And I don't think wanting to forego that in favor of getting a quarterback recruit from the high school ranks who is an unknown commodity. Potential, it is 100% there, but you don't know what he's going to be. You know what Michael Penix is. And college football is a year-by-year ordeal. And we talk about recruiting, we talk about these sorts of players because of what they can bring maybe next season or the season after, and then you assess their development in the glimpses that you see them, in blowouts and whatnot. Michael Penix gives you a chance to win now. And we know that that is true because we've seen it this year. They're a 10-2 football team, chance to go 11-2 in the Alamo Bowl against Texas. That to me is a better situation than losing Penix and having Kienholz and Huard battle it out for the starting quarterback job, because then you open up the very real possibility. It's kind of a floor and ceiling conversation. But the thing is, Penix, as we see, has a really high ceiling, and Kienholz and Huard could both have high ceilings as well. But Michael Penix has a higher floor than either of those guys. And it's not particularly close. You can't argue that. And so, with the transfer portal being available to them now, I don't think Washington fans should be wildly concerned about their future at the quarterback position, because you're good for another year, and Sam Huard is still there. Sam Huard is still there. He is as talented of a backup as any team in the Pac-12, maybe in the country, has got. There are not a lot of teams that have a 5-star backup. And he has not impressed in the limited action he's seen, but guess what? That was in Jimmy Lake's led offense. And John Donovan is the OC. And those guys are gone. And he got to watch Michael Penix surgically execute this Washington offense led by Kalen DeBoer and the OC Ryan Grubb. And now I get to watch him again. And he'll get to learn. And if he is going to be the sort of prospect Husky fans were hoping when he committed to UW a couple of years ago, then this is going to be arguably the best path forward for him, because he'll know the offense inside and out, and he'll have seen, also by a left-handed quarterback, I don't know if that plays in a lot, but it certainly can't hurt. He will have seen how the offense is meant to be executed for a long time, and what it looks like when you're running it efficiently, and how to make reads, and how to make checks, and how to get in and out of protections or plays or all that sort of stuff. So it's disappointing on the one hand, for sure, because you'd rather have talented players waiting in the wings for the future, but that was a long-term play. Like, you should be concerned about Sam Huard if you thought Kienholz was going to come in and start over him in 2023 if Penix had declared for the NFL. Then you have a different question to ask, which is, what transfer quarterback are you going to bring in? Because you don't want to ever rely on a true freshman. There are not a lot of true freshmen who can step in, start, and have a lot of success and win a lot of football games. It does not happen very often. There's still a plan at quarterback beyond 2023 if you convince Sam Huard to stick around. The transfer portal remains an option. And I would rather have Michael Penix for another year than have gotten Kienholz to play in the long term, which wouldn't happen for a few years, and you don't know whether or not he could become as good as Michael Penix is now, which, even if he becomes a good quarterback, Michael Penix setting the bar pretty darn high.